candidates of his choice before dropping the ballot papers in the designated boxes, in line with the plan to check excesses of politicians. The nation's anti-graft agencies, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission were on ground to monitor and stop cases of vote buying. Meanwhile, the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Senator Bola Tinubu, cast his vote at his polling unit located at Alausa in Ikeja. Senator Tinubu, who was accompanied by his wife, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, arrived the venue and was attended to by the officials of Independent National Electoral Commission for accreditation and voting. Also, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, accompanied by his wife, Titi Abubakar, arrived the Ajia polling unit 012 ward in Jimeta, area of Yola in Adamawa State, where he cast his vote. Similarly, Labour presidential candidate Mr. Peter Obi reportedly cast his vote at polling unit 19 in Angulu area of Anambra State. Just as reports also indicated that the MMPP presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso also cast his vote at his polling unit in Malami area of Kano. Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke has expressed satisfaction at the conduct of the presidential and National Assembly elections, which held across the country today. The governor, who noted the effectiveness of BVAS machines in the process of the election, commended the electorate in the state for their peaceful conduct. Governor's Office correspondent Abdurrahim Adekilekun reports.
Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Adeleke arrived at the Unit 9, Ward 2, Sagba Bogunde in Ede North local government area at exactly 8:42 in the morning, in company of his wives and other family members. On arrival, the governor asked who the last person was so he could join the queue, but the people insisted that he should be the first to vote. He then proceeded to present his permanent voter's card, after which he was accredited and given ballot papers. After casting his ballots, the governor described the exercise as being efficient and fast. He lauded the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for a seamless arrangement.
So far, so good. The whole process is going very well, and I believe it will end well.
On the issue of security, Senator Adeleke appealed to the electorate to go about exercising their franchise peacefully.
It should be law-abiding. Election is not a do or die. Let people decide who they want. So everything should be peaceful. Your governor believes in rule of law and due process. So everybody should be law-abiding. Go and vote for your choice and live quietly.
Wives of the governor, Mrs. Ngozi Adeleke and Mrs. Titilola Adeleke, used the occasion to call on women and youths to come out en masse and vote for candidates of their choice.
Today is the D-Day for us to rescue our Nigeria. Everywhere in churches, women are the ones that outnumbers the whole people. Women are the pillars. Women are the ones that hold the homes, the country, the state, everywhere.
There's no fight, there's no quarrel. Everything is peaceful. By God's grace, the citizens of Osun State, they would have made up their mind and choose whoever they want to vote for.
It has been Abdurrahim Adekilekun reporting.
Similarly, the Deputy Governor, Prince Kola Adewusi, has lauded the level of maturity showcased by the electorate while discharging their civic responsibility of voting their leaders. Prince Adewusi stated this shortly after casting his vote at Enowa Polling Unit 1, Ile-Ife. He lauded the Independent National Electoral Commission for acting as an unbiased umpire in the conduct of the elections. Speaking in the same vein, as stalwart of the People's Democratic Party, Professor Wale Ladipo expressed satisfaction in the operations of the bimodal voters accreditation system, describing it as the best the country can have for now. Speaker of Osun State House of Assembly, Honorable Timothy Uweye, has stressed the need for Nigerians to prioritize peace and tranquility in order to sustain the unity in the country. Honorable Uweye said this in Elisha, where he observed his civic responsibility. Osbc reporter Oluwatosin Ladokun completes the story.
According to Independent National Electoral Commission, (INEC), the number of registered voters in Osun State is 1.9 million, out of which 1.5 eligible voters collected their permanent voters card (PVC). Osbc News Crew monitors some wards in Ilesha Metropolis, including Ward 10, Unit 6 of Ilesha East Local Government, just like many other wards and units of Ilesha East. However, the exercise in Ilesha East Local Government was peaceful and calm, just as voters came out massively to exercise their franchise. Honorable Way had earlier charged voters and electoral umpires, officers, to ensure seamless process by upholding the doctrine of fairness and non-bias as the exercise lasted. He reiterated that Nigeria is bigger than individuals, irrespective of status, noting that unity and togetherness of Nigeria and Nigerians is of immense paramount. In a chat with Osbc News, Ms. Tosin Awodeji, who lauded the voting exercise boss, expressed reservation on the low turnout of youth while urging Nigerians youth to increase their turnout. In our reaction, a septuagenarian who observed their franchise at Ward 10 Unit 6, Ilesha, his local government, Mrs. Florence Olajide, urged inhabitants and voters of the state to be law-abiding and accepting the outcome of the elections. Oluwatosin Ladokun, Osbc News.
As Nigerians went to the poll to elect new president, senators and members of the House of Representatives, the Independent National Electoral Commission has been commended for organizing each free elections. The Nigerian ambassador to Mexico, Honorable Adejare Bello, and a political chieftain, Pharmacist Musliuddin Adekileku, commended the process and the large turnout recorded in their respective polling units. They speak further.
The turnout here is quite impressive. The comportment of the voters is highly commendable. The INEC officials are doing their job the way they're supposed to. The security agents, the police, civil defense, they are doing their job, and I'm impressed.
Yeah, fantastic. Very, very lovely. There's no problem, no hitch. Everything went smoothly. It's a very, very lovely machine.
Electorate and party leaders at various political parties across the length and breadth of the federal constituency have applauded the Independent National Electoral Commission for conducting a fair and credible elections in Nigeria. They made the commendation during the presidential and National Assembly elections, which cut across all the states of the Federation and the FCT. David Ojo has more.
Electorates in Egbedore, Ejigo, Edo North and South were filled with enthusiasm, great expectation, and a better Nigeria when they all filed out to determine who governs them for another 4 years of uninterrupted democracy, which has been in existence since 1999. Speaking with some concerned electorates during the presidential and National Assembly election, they acknowledged the fact that independent body, INEC, responsible for the conduct of Nigerian election, have improved tremendously in the areas of introducing the use of beavers, which has drastically reduced election rigging across the country. The electorate also showered encomium on the professionalism displayed by all the security agencies deployed for the purpose of the elect. They opine that if our democracy continues like this, it will be a process to emulate across the world.
The atmosphere is peaceful. A lot of people got accredited in the early hours of today. The beavers machine are functioning well.
We don't have any problem. The people, the INEC came earlier than usual, and everybody is voting accordingly.
I was coming, I saw some military men at the roundabout over there, and then we've seen a couple of them.
Also speaking during the election, party leaders of various political parties said they were satisfied with the process of the election, which has been very peaceful. They equally encouraged the lead agency to beef up the security personnel who are deficient in some quarters of the constituency.
Some polling units, the biomodal voters verification machine, the beavers, they have been complained about that. For example, in my local government here in Ward 7, Unit 3, in a ward in Ikuro in particular, the beavers machine they allocated to them has not even functioned for 1 minute.
Arrange themselves and their orderly. Of course, it is a very peaceful environment. And we are managing ourselves because we know ourselves.
Wherever the pendulum swings, political parties should embrace peace for the nation to continue to thrive. This is David Ojo reporting for Osbc News.
The electorates have become more sophisticated and sensitive towards participating in the electoral process, as demonstrated in the 2023 Presidential and National Assembly elections. This formed the aggregate perspective of analysts who monitor the electoral process of electing new leaders. Sonia Honoride has the report.
The much anticipated 2023 Presidential and National Assembly election held are scheduled simultaneously across the country. Observation by Osbc News in Ife Northwest Local Council Development Area, Ife North, Ife East Local Government areas, and the area office revealed an impressive turnout of voters. Voters at polling units in Edouaban, Moro, Yakoyo, Ipetumodu, Ashipa, Ajebandele, Obande Grammar School, Mayfair, Lagere, Iremo, Enuwa, Obalufon in Ile-Ife, as well as Itameri in Modakeke, comported themselves in a peaceful and orderly manner, while the security personnel were strategically positioned in keeping the troublemakers at bay. Staff of the Independent National Electoral Commission were also spotted attending to eligible voters with professional touch using beavers machine, as well as guiding the voters through the accreditation and voting process. Speaking with Osbc News on the exercise, Senator Babajide Omowurare, Prince Oladotun Ajilesoro, Alhaji Fatai Kolawole, Olufemi Ajayi, and Safeshin Aworanti lauded the exercise as incredibly successful.
Beavers has now helped us. What you can see today is the beauty of beavers. If you are not captured by beavers, which goes directly to the server in Abuja, then you are wasting your time if somebody says you are casting your votes. So you must have done capturing with your finger and with your face.
People have been here since 7 a.m. and all the procedure of the laid out by the INEC were being followed. There's no crisis like that. There's no chaos. Everybody is in order, and we thank God for the smooth running of the exercise.
It is also very good that they are peaceful, they are orderly, and they have a sense of duty. That is something that they must do, so that they can have a say in the administration of the nation.
The votes were being collated and transmitted from the polling units nationwide to the database of Independent National Electoral Commission. Sonia Ononide reporting for Osbc News.
Voters in Irewole, Ayedade, and Ishokon Federal Constituency in Osun State have commended the Independent National Electoral Commission for employing technology for the conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly elections. Those who spoke with Osbc News while casting their votes at the federal constituency noted that the use of biomodal voters accreditation system has restored voters' confidence in the electoral process. Oluchi Amuda has more.
Presidential and National Assembly elections in Ayedade, Irewole Ishokon Federal Constituency was generally peaceful. Osbc News monitored the elections in areas such as Odeomu, Wasimi, Ikire, Akpomu, Ikoyi, among others, and observed that officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) arrived at polling units with the voting materials early enough before the official commencement time of 8:30 in the morning. Voters who came out in large numbers in virtually all the polling units visited in the federal constituency comported themselves in orderly manner as they checked their names on the register, got accredited with the biomodal voter accreditation system machine before casting their votes for the candidates of their choice. Similarly, those whose fingerprints could not be captured were accredited through facial recognition by the beavers. Security operatives were fully on ground in the polling units to maintain law and order. It was equally observed that some polling units gave priority to pregnant women, nursing mothers, the aged, and the physically challenged. Some of the voters who spoke in separate interviews with OSBC News commended the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, for the massive improvement recorded in the conduct of election in the country.
For the first time after several years of my experience of participating in an exercise like this, that will be devoid of vote buy.
We are at peace here, and I hope what is happening here is what is going on in other polling units.
Money is not changing hands, at least as physically as we used to know it.
There's nothing like vote buying. People came out to vote for their own conscience.
Everything is peaceful. The voters conducted themselves peacefully well. And apart from that, all the electoral officers were on ground.
The crowd here and the money was fantastic.
The governorship and State House of Assembly election comes up on the 11th of next month. Oluchi Amuda, OSBC News.
Electorate in Osogbo Federal Constituency covering Irepo-Odun, Orolu, Olorunda and Osogbo local government areas have expressed satisfaction on the election processes in Osogbo Federal Constituency, commending the Independent National Electoral Commission for a job well done by giving a level playing ground for all candidates. They also enjoined the electoral umpire to remain neutral and unbiased with the electionary processes. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga files in the report.
Nigerians decided today to elect their preferred candidates for the presidential, senatorial, and Houses of Representative seats. Residents of Osogbo Federal Constituency covering the Irepo-Odun, Orolu, Olorunda, and Osogbo local government areas of Osun State were not left out in discharging their civic responsibilities as they troop out to their various polling units at Ward 9 Units 9 and 3, situated in Agbede-Pupo area of Osogbo. The presiding officers arrived at the polling unit on time, and by exactly 8:16 a.m., the officers gave voters education on beavers and voting processes to the electorate. Thereafter, accreditation and voting started simultaneously around 8:31 a.m. It was observed that voting process was smooth as people got accredited in seconds with the use of bimodal voter accreditation system beavers, while the security operatives, party agents and observers were on ground to discharge their duties. Speaking on the process of the election, electorate in Osogbo Federal Constituency, including the Secretary to Osun State Government, Honorable Tesimi Gbalayi, and Honorable representing Olorunda State Constituency, Honorable Kunle Akonde, among others, after casting their vote, expressed delight on the election process as they shower encomium on the electoral umpire for making the process thorough and fair. They added that the election processes were peaceful, just as they commended the electoral body for the use of bimodal voter accreditation system beavers, which makes the voting process more effective and less wasting of time.
Things are peaceful and the process is going on smoothly as expected. I can assure you, if this kind of process continue all over the polling units in Osogbo and Osun, I believe we will have a very smooth and rancor-free election.
So far, so good. You can see that we have a very orderly manner. Everybody is taking his cue without jumping the line.
It was observed that the aged and the less privileged were given opportunity to exercise their franchise, and accreditation exercise with voting process commenced as expected, while sorting and counting process commenced around 2:30 p.m. across wards in Osogbo Federal Constituency. Oluwatobiloba Odunuga, OSBC News.
The 2023 Presidential and National Assembly elections in Obokun and Oriade Federal Constituency was conducted each free. OSBC News crew, which covered the elections in both local governments, reports that the electoral officials arrived at their various polling units on time for the commencement of much awaited exercise, while eligible voters availed themselves of the opportunity to exercise their civic responsibility. Adeyemi Abodere has details.
The Presidential and National Assembly elections in Obokun and Oriade local government were held each free as monitored by OSBC News crew. The first point of call was Ibokun, headquarters of Obokun local government, where the early morning cool weather depicted what was expected as eligible voters converged at their various polling units to exercise their civic duty of casting their vote for candidates of their choice. The election started as scheduled as INEC officials arrived for the exercise, while voters queued up for their turn to partake in the exercise. The deployment of beavers technology aided speedy process as accreditation and voting were done simultaneously with ballot boxes provided for the 3 positions in contest, that is the Presidential, Senate, and House of Representatives. Places visited for the coverage of the election in Ibokun include Ibokun Ward 1, Unit 2 at NUD Primary School, where Prince Diran Odeyemi voted. Ibokun Ward 1, Unit 9, where Honorable Tubosun Oyetiloye cast his vote. Obokun Ward 1, Unit 3 at St. Peter's Primary School, where Honorable Adewumi Adeyemi voted, and Obokun Ward 1, Unit 1 Post Office Roundabout. The crew also called on Obokun Ward 4, Unit 1 at NUD Primary School, Ilase Ijesha, where Senator Francis Fadaunse voted. They all applauded the H-free exercise.
It's very smooth. It's smooth.
So far, so good. Everything is peaceful right now.
The environment is so conducive, there is no problem.
OSBC news crew also visited Iponda and Ikinyiwa, both in Obokun local government. The situation was not different in Oriade local government, as our crew also observed proceedings in Ere Ijesha, Ijebu-Jesha, and Esauke, among others, at Oriade Ward 3, Unit 4, Oduoja in Ijebu-Jesha, and Ijebu-Jesha Town Hall, Ward 3, Unit 8, Esauke Grammar School, and United Missionary Primary School, Esauke. Eligible voters trooped out en masse to exercise their franchise under a peaceful atmosphere. As at the time OSBC crew left for base, sorting and counting of vote has commenced. Adeyemi Abodeni, OSBC News.
The atmosphere was peaceful in all the polling units visited by OSBC news crew in Ifelodun, Boripe Oduote Federal Constituency, while stakeholders expressed optimism that the outcome of the polls would bring a new lease of life for Nigerians. Those who spoke with OSBC news including 2 former governors, a federal lawmaker, and an elder statesman, among others. Latif Agbola reports.
The early arrival of INEC officials and electoral materials made today's presidential and parliamentary elections unique. Coupled with functional beavers across all the polling units visited in Ifelodun, Boripe, and Oduote Federal Constituency, OSBC news crew was lucky to come across 2 former governors of Osun State, Prince Olagunso Oyinola and Mr. Adigboyega Oyetola, at their respective polling units in Okuku, Oduote local government, and the Ragbiji in Boripe local government areas of the state.
As we can all see, things are moving peacefully, and I think if we continue and end it in this manner, we will have conducted everything.
I think the exercise has been particularly very peaceful. INEC officials were found in my polling unit. I've just been moved to a new polling unit anyway, so the exercise is going on well.
Also speaking with OSBC News was an elder statesman and the political stalwart, Alhaji Suaibo Yedokun, the federal lawmaker representing Ifelodun Boripe Oduote constituency, Honorable Olalekan Folabi, and a comrade turned politician, Kehinde Ayantunji. All of them lent credence to the fact that the election was peaceful, expressing optimism that the whole exercise will be successful at the end of the day. OSBC News crew could observe a friendly environment even among party agents, irrespective of their differences in political platform, while some smart food vendors use the avenue to make cool money from electorate who could not take their breakfast at home in order to be at the polling unit on time. Ballot sorting and counting had commenced before filing this report, with a number of void votes counted in some occasions, just as the elderly persons and people with disabilities were given priority to cast their vote before the able-bodied. Latif Agbola reporting for OSBC News.
The electorate in Boluwaduro Ifedayo Ila Federal Constituency have been lauded for their comportment and impressive turnout at the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections. Our former Senator Olushola Adeyeye, former Commissioner for Information Sunday Akere, and the senatorial candidate Olubiyi Fadeyi gave the commendation shortly after casting their votes. Adebari Ejimakinde files in the report.
The 2023 Presidential and National Assembly election in Boluwaduro Ila Ifedayo Federal Constituency was conducted in a peaceful atmosphere with usage of impressive technology. This was the submission of the former Senator Olushola Adeyeye, a senatorial candidate Olubi Ifadeyi, the former State Commissioner for Information Mr. Sunday Akere, shortly after casting their votes in Ora, Igbomina, Ila-Orangun, and Igbajo. They lauded the logistics put in place by INEC and impressive turnout of eligible voters.
It has been peaceful. People have been free to vote their conscience or lack of it.
We got the materials early enough.
Consider the situation in the country, unavailability of fuel, scarcity of naira. Or will be shocked with the turnout of voters.
Speaking on the just concluded election Orangun of Okeila, Oba Adedokun Abolarin, who pointed out that democracy is on the right track to further enhance the development of the nation, urged the people to embrace the virtues of tolerance, perseverance, and peace after the emergence of the winner. The conduct of the election in Erikpa, Otaigbaju, Ila, Okeila, Ora went under a peaceful atmosphere as voters were law-abiding and displayed enthusiasm while exercising their franchise. The INEC officials arrived early at the polling units with the sensitive and non-sensitive materials. The security men were also sighted at strategic positions and polling units, but there was no security breach in places visited. At Debare Ejimakide, Osbc News.
The turnout of voters made today's election a success. OSBC News reporter Babatunde Bolatito said those who spoke with him attributed the peaceful atmosphere that attended the elections to media hype about the nitty-gritty of the elections. His report.
The physically challenged and pregnant women were the first to cast their votes in all the polling units visited by OSBC News in the Ijesha South Federal Constituency. As early as 8:30 in the morning, eligible voters who are already on the queues began the process of accreditation, and the Beavers machine did not disappoint anywhere. Former Deputy Governor of Osun State, Erelu Olushola Obada, commended INEC for what she described as the orderly conduct of the poll, adding that the election was also peaceful. Also speaking before OSBC News, a political leader in the state, Honorable Sunday Bisi, lauded the people of Ilesha East local government area for what he called their peaceful conduct before, during, and after the election. Every security presence and orderly conduct of the electorate made the votings a success story so far. A visit to Oshu, Ibodi, Ifewara in Atakumasa West local government area and Isale General, Itakogun, Idiayan, Idasa, all in Ilesha West and Okesa, Fadausi, Omiasoro, Ijofi, Okeyin, among other places in Ilesha East local government area recorded large turnout and peaceful poll. A political leader in the state, Honorable Doshu Babatunde, attributed the peaceful conduct of the election to a high level of sensitization on the part of INEC and the media. For OSBC News, I am Babatunde Bolatito.
Osun State Electoral Commissioner Dr. Mutiu Agboke has lauded the electorate in the state for the peaceful comportment and massive participation in the presidential and National Assembly elections. Dr. Agboke said this after his inspection of polling units across the local government areas of the state. Adeboye Popola has more.
Situation inspection of polling units took Osun State Resident Electoral Commissioner to some local governments, namely Oshogbo, Olorunda, Orulu, Irepodun, and Ede North. At each of the polling units visited, 3 ballot boxes were deployed for presidential, House of Representatives, and Senate, while political parties were represented by party agents. Electorates went out in large number, and there was no disruption of election at any of the areas inspected by Resident Electoral Commissioner. Likewise, the polling units were secured by security agents. There was no human and vehicular movement, as security agents were posted on major highways to hamper free movement of vehicles. However, some voters protested to Resident Electoral Commissioner at a polling unit located at St. James's Primary School that Beavers machine ejected their fingerprints and their faces. The Resident Electoral Commissioner appealed to them, saying the Beavers is the only proof of accreditation. The Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Mutiu Agboke, addressed the newsmen on his findings during the inspection.
Election
it should be a carnival-like activity. And if you see them, look at the people. They are happy that they are coming out to cast their vote. They are not being coerced. They are not being suppressed. They are not being forced. And that is the beauty of the process. So for me, I am happy.
Oye Okuola, Osbc News.
Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 11, Sikiru Akonde, has assured that the zeal, commitment and professionalism with which the security aspect of the electoral process was prosecuted will be sustained beyond the elections. The acting AIG gave the assurance while moving on patrol to monitor situation across some polling units in Osun State. Omotayo Adibodo has details.
So, by the acting AIG in charge of Zone 11, AIG Sikiru Akonde was to ensure that nothing is left to chance with respect to security of lives and properties, particularly during the voting process. No doubt the general election in Osun State today witnessed peace and tranquility with the effort of all security agencies deployed to all polling units in the state, as eligible voters were seen carrying out their civic responsibilities in an orderly manner. Speaking with Osbc News shortly after the tour to some of the units in Ilesha and Oshogbo, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 11, AIG Akonde Sikiru, said maintenance of law and order as well as security of lives and election materials rest squarely on the security agencies, and as such, they will not relent in their duties.
This is the period where a lot of things do happen. We want them to remain vigilant, peaceful, and they should have trust in us that will continue to safeguard the process.
Similarly, the NSCDC Zonal Commander Zone J, comprising of Osun, Ekiti, and Ondo, ACG Adeyinka Fasiru, stated that NSCDC, in conjunction with other security agencies, is posed to help maintain the sanctity of Nigeria's electoral process by being fair and neutral. He assured that anyone caught trying to perpetrate evil will be dealt with accordingly.
See now that the situation is very calm and good. We have not heard of any violence from anywhere, either in Oshogbo or Ilesha. Now, that is Oshogbo Central and Osun East.
Former PDP chairman in the state, Honorable Sunday Bisi, who spoke on the exercise, lauded all security agencies for maintaining law and order during the course of the election. However, the no movements law was effectively carried out, as all defaulters were ordered to park their vehicles and walk to their respective voting locations. Omotayo Adibodun, Osbc News.
You are welcome to our sports segment. The Nigerian male basketball team, the Tigers, today revived their hopes of qualifying for the World Cup after beating group leaders Cote d'Ivoire in the first game of the last window qualifier in Luanda. The Ivorians, who had already qualified the World Cup, saw their 7 games unbeaten streak came to an end after a final score of 72-63 in favor of the Tigers in an entertaining encounter. Following perfect performances in the previous windows, the Tigers' hope of qualifying for the World Cup that will be played in Indonesia, Japan and Philippines, but victory against Cote d'Ivoire will boost their confidence going into the next games. While on the foreign scene, the African Union has criticized Tunisia and urged it to avoid racialized hate speech following President Kais Saied's comments directed at migrants from elsewhere on the continent. The chairperson of the African Union and the former Prime Minister of Chad, Moussa Mahamat, strongly condemned the shocking statement issued by Tunisian authorities targeting fellow Africans, which go against the letter and the spirit of the organization and founding principles. Meanwhile, the AU Commission has called Tunisia's representative for an urgent meeting to register deep shock and concern at the form and substance of the remarks on behalf of the continent-wide bloc. It was learned that Tunisian President Saied ordered the expulsion of undocumented migrants from Tunisia, saying immigration was a plot aimed at changing its country's demographic composition. And that ends the major report on OSBC TV. It was edited by Kayode Adebayo. I am Olubumi Ajiboye Agbola. wishing you a memorable night.